Hello, my name is Neil Dunnigan and I want to share a presentation that talks about the revival of the Cork Unitarian Church, in Cork, Ireland, as a modern-day event that is a reminder of the Franciscan story about Francis of Assisi and the chapel at San Domino. This presentation was developed for an Franciscan conference held in Durham, England in 2026 to commemorate the 800th anniversary of the death of Francis of Assisi. The conference was attended by approximately 150 people, including clergy and lay people from multiple Christian faith traditions. Let me level set my topic with this slide. On th left is a medieval depiction of a half-rebuilt church. The image depicts Francis kneeling in prayer gazing at a cross with a complex set of story elements painted on it. The church is named for Saint Damiano, the 3rd century Syrian physician and martyr. And the Syrian-style icon cross is called the San Domino cross. On the right side are two photos of the Cork Unitarian Church on Princes Street in Cork. In the top one you can see the fire damage in the chapel area. In the bottom photo you can see the fire brigade standing in the damage's main hall. Across the middle is oldest version of Francis's moment of epiphany when while praying he hears the words, "Francis, go repair my house," which as you see, is falling completely to ruin. The conference was attended by approximately 150 people, including clergy and lay people from multiple Christian faith traditions. So now that you know the backstory of the presentation, let me tell you a little bit about me. In 2017, I completed my novitiate and became a professed member of a particular Franciscan community called the Order of Ecumenical Franciscans. I was living in Oklahoma at the time and near me was a group of Catholic Franciscans who invited me into their local fraternity as an associate member. In fact, two members of that St. Francis of Assisi fraternity, Bill and Cindy Full, traveled to Oklahoma to Durham for this conference. After my retirement, my wife Virginia and I left Oklahoma and moved to Ireland in 2018. That is when we began attending Cork Unitarian Church. Subsequent to that I completed my master's degree in pastoral studies and also became board certified as a healthcare chaplain. You can reach me at my online addresses. Now here is a little bit about the Order of Ecumenical Franciscans. The OEF, our tagline is, "Following Jesus in the little way," and we sometimes refer to ourselves as, our little order. Remember that word, little, for later on. We are a third order community. That means we are regular people who live and work in the secular world. Some of our members are ordained clergy and some are not. Unlike most Franciscan orders, we are not affiliated with any one Christian denomination. Our members are drawn from any Christian denomination, even Unitarians. We are explicitly gender inclusive. We are dispersed, meaning we live geographically separated. We don't report to an ecclesiastic authority. We participate with other Franciscan groups in areas of common concern. And you can list us at our online presence. Sometimes names are the most accurate labels. For example, today Unitarians are not really about debates over Trinitarian theology. Let's look back in time. In the 16th century, early Unitarians in Eastern Europe were attempting to rediscover original Christianity and its simplicity. This motivation is similar to Francis of Assisi's primitive rule and his stated desire to simply be allowed to live the life of the gospel. In the 18th century, the focus of the Unitarian movement shifted England. There it was shaped by the new thinking and emerging secular worldviews of the Enlightenment. In the 19th century, the focus shifted to the US and the influencing worldviews came from the Transcendental movement. In the 20th century, Unitarians and Universalist churches in the US recognized their common approach and merged to become Unitarian Universalists, commonly referred to as UU global influences supporting bespoke spiritual journeys. Back in those earlier days, religions filled nationalistic needs. This was captured in the famous Reformation quote, "The religion of the prince is the religion of the people." Now, in modern times, pluralism is a much more accepted fact of life. We can acknowledge and celebrate people's bespoke spiritual journeys and we view religions as filling people's personal needs, not the needs of society or the state. For Unitarians, that explains our shift over time from dogma and doctrine to values and behavior. We are not interested in opposing the Trinity because we see it as just another doctrine based on a religious mystery. As such it is ineffable and cannot be explained adequately in words. The members of our Unitarian Church are all free to hold their own individual beliefs about religious mysteries like the nature of God, the afterlife, and the nature of good and evil. So, technically speaking, a member of a Unitarian Church could hold a personal belief in some form of Trinitarian theology. However, that individual's belief would be respected as their personal right, not be a church-endorsed or promoted doctrine. Francis of Assisi and later Franciscans are known for their embracing of universalist themes. While most Franciscans would have different theologies from Unitarians, we can often see that they are similar in their ethos, charism, thematic approaches. Respect for creation, nature, the environment, and the web of life is perhaps the most obvious area of similarity. Other areas of similarity include peace and justice, community and hospitality, humility and simplicity. Finally, an additional area of similar focus is ongoing conversion and growth. Let's now take a look at the old Cork Unitarian Church building constructed over 7 years on reclaimed marsh land and finished in 1717. The building was designed as a large square open-floor structure with a very high ceiling and a second-floor balcony on 3 sides. It was deliberately plain and had no steeple. The building was designed around a preaching style of religious service and could accommodate 700 people. The church was founded in the 1700s, largely by successful individuals from Ulster Plantation looking for new entrepreneurial opportunities in Ireland. In the 1800s the church was the home to Cork's shakers and movers. Computer pioneer, George Boole, Mesopotamian cuneiform decipherer, Edward Hincks, Lord Mayor, Richard Dowden. The church concurrently supported 2 ministers, one Trinitarian and one Unitarian. The church supported the abolitionist movement, hosting the American former slave Frederick Douglass visit and helping to buy out his slave contract. It also supported the cause of Catholic emancipation and the temperance movement. By the 1900s the Trinitarian members had already left and formed the Presbyterian Church on the north side of the River Lee, split. Various downsizing alternatives were pursued to manage the church building and related properties. In the 2000s the historic building continued its depreciation. Its preaching style design was no longer fit for purpose. The congregation was aging, people were moving out of city center and operating costs could not properly manage the proper care of a 300-year-old building, let alone modernize it. Then came the COVID pandemic and a corresponding drop in membership. Finally, a fire seriously damaged the interior leading to the closing of the building and the building's trust expelling the congregation. This was an existential crisis. The church community could not go back to the old way that it was operating. The church needed to either give up or be reborn. Some members choose to give up and quit. Some choose to go the way of John chapter 3 verse 3 and be born again. Born again as a church without a minister or ordained clergy, aligned with a different better suited Unitarian denomination, and a church not owning or renting its own dedicated building. Lesson 1 of repairing takes a tip from Matthew's parable of the sower. Unitarianism is not everyone's cup of tea, and we appreciate that. But we need to have an idea of who might favor our tea. Only by knowing that can our limited resources be directed to sowing on good soil, rather than sowing on the footpath, thorns, or rocky soil. We understand that people come to church for a combination of extrinsic reasons like activities, social connections, schools for their children, and so forth. They also have intrinsic reasons. Maybe they are attracted to certain devotional practices like preaching, or liturgy, or silence, whatever. Some church are large enough to try to have something for everyone, we are not. When we look at the just 2 of the big 5 personality factors, we see that our members tend to fall into an archetypal pattern that psychologists refer to as bohemian or artist. This group makes up only about 11% of the population. Going on from personality theory to cultural anthropology, we can consider how different individuals have been socialized by their culture to hold different worldviews. Our potential 11% of good soil gets smaller. Then we can consider how a person sees themselves, their cognitive style. Again, a further restriction on the amount of available good soil. When the proportion of good soil is limited, our second repairing lesson is to go small. Small is good, because small is workable when we don't feel the need to be like everyone else or try to make everyone else like us. Early Christian and contemporary house churches are small groups. Early Franciscan hermitages were small groups. Church prayer groups are typically small groups. This table compares 2 small group church models. Small Christian communities is a model developed by Catholic missionaries in Africa to support populations not served by ordained clergy. Small group ministries is a Unitarian Universalist model. Notice that these theologically different faith traditions have developed similar approaches for working with smallness. Notice that in the liturgical approach the congregation is not focused on God in some distant heaven or on an authoritative leader. The focus is on God's presence in each other. Likewise, the non-programmatic nature means that whatever extrinsic church activities the group is performing, the intrinsic value is that they are opportunities for people to edify or build up each other. The third lesson for repairing church is to stay in the moment. It is about the journey, not the destination. This can be difficult for Christians who are otherworldly, focused on an afterlife, or obsessed with the rapture and the second coming of Jesus. As we said on the previous slide, ministry is about relationship with the people we minister to, receive ministry from, and minister alongside. In our small church groups, we have a sacred space where, other than the need to sometimes rest, our members are not passengers on the bus. Everyone is a participant in some unique way. Our small church group does not need to acquire, rent, or own much of anything in the way of physical things or status. Metrics are good, but positive measures of external progress should not be distractions. Real progress, like Francis, perfect joy, is in the heart of each person. Thanks to all of you for watching my presentation. And from all of us at Cork Unitarian Church, we share our wishes for peace and blessing to you all. Or as your man Francis of Assisi himself would say if he spoke Irish, Siocan agus benigtai orive.